Do you notice yourself dreading the time change in the fall, where your body and your mind are kind of in sync, where, oh my gosh, this is something I really don't look forward to? Does your mind and body experience a noticeable funk this time of year? Well, if that's the case, today's episode is really for you, and myself included. We're going to look at ways to combat the fall winter funk, is what we'll call it, for laying the groundwork for a healthier you. So one of the things that I think is the biggest thing to be aware of, well, what the heck does it look like? Whether you struggle with seasonal affective disorder, or you just struggle in general emotionally, you feel a difference, your body feels different when it comes to the time switch, which for this year is going to be landing in fairly early November. There's a change that happens with our bodies. Our bodies, in all honesty, do not adapt well when it comes to going forward or going back. So the first thing that we're going to look at today is the aspect of knowing yourself. Our bodies do not adapt well when it comes to that 1 hour forward, that 1 hour backward. It can really kind of put us in a tailspin, whether that's for the day, for the week, or just an ongoing challenge in terms of kind of get comfortable. There could be positives with the time change, just like with everything, but it's also being aware of who you are. We are all different in terms of how the time change affects us. Being aware when it comes to knowing yourself and writing it down. What time of the year that I experience a heightened level of stress with work, that maybe the time change can affect me, or it's going like particular seasons. For some people, there's a minority, but they exist, that summer's a really hard time for them. Looking at particular, this episode is really fall, winter, but regardless, how does the time change affect you? Whether that's positive or negative, it's writing it down. What is your game plan? And if you could say, well, I don't have a game plan. Well, this is what we're going to be talking about today, in measures to strengthen your own personal wellness. And it's not getting ourselves to a point where we're like, okay, we've got the time change coming, and you kind of get sideswiped, like, whoa, I'm really struggling with getting up. I'm really feeling funky. There are things I'm struggling with. So when we look at the aspect of whether you have it's seasonal effects of disorder, going through kind of the line with this is noticeable change in desire to eat more, right? You're kind of craving carbs and sugars, gaining weight at certain times of the year, this feeling of I want to sleep, or I am sleeping excessively, edgy, tired, just in a state of funk is really what I'm going to call it. So how can we tweak things, adjust things to say, okay, no matter where you live, right? You are in Alaska, you are in Arizona, you're in Argentina, you're in India. How does the time change impact you? What are your triggers? Is it get exceptionally worse during the holiday season? Is it like, well, okay, it's raining a whole lot. Man, my funk odometer is even more up than normal. Excessive darkness. Write these things down. And what I want to do is kind of looking at you getting a little more familiar with what are my things that make me tick in a positive way, and what are things that are triggers this time of year that kind of can accelerate my wellness journey or put up obstacles. And becoming familiarized with that, looking at these strategies, being able to implement them, and allowing the next few months to kind of simply be less overwhelming. So that rolls us into the second area of having a game plan. Game plan is important. Finding ways for it to not kick our butts can happen and is possible, but we've got to come up with this game plan. So I'm going to give you a few things that you can kind of add to your layering of wellness. A few of these kind of starts with getting a sun lamp. Sun lamps can do amazing things when we don't have the ability to be out in the sun a lot, depending on where you live. And it's like, it is something I am lacking. Get a sun lamp. Hop on Amazon, go to your local store within your community, get a sun lamp. They're really not that expensive, and they can have a tremendous amount of benefits. Looking at, are you vitamin D deficient? Or vitamin D should be at a certain level. And again, talk to your doctor about this, but see where you are, because that could affect our how we're feeling and get us kind of lighten that funk when our vitamin D levels are where they should be. So diet, I know we don't like to talk about this. I always call it a lifestyle, right? It's something that I'm eternally pursuing. But during specific times of year, when it comes to seasonal affective disorder, or it could be just, you just kind of slightly struggle with this time of year, that we can kind of have these cravings for just like, I just want to wear big clothes and get a, just like where I'm kind of feeling good, but you're not feeling good because we're eating, Pop-Tarts, and we're eating things in high sugar, lots of pasta, lots of breads. And I'm not saying, you can't eat any of that, but it's being really careful, and everything really is in moderation. That's kind of my mantra in life. But when there's that kind of decrease in sunlight, we can kind of go into hibernation mode, kind of like little squirrels, like just stuffing our cheeks with pizza and casseroles and brownies and all those things that seem deliciously sprinkled with goodness. We got to refrain from those, because what that does, those sugars get us woohoo, and then right, we don't want that. No crash and burn, but that can absolutely exacerbate how we're feeling. Being aware of what we're putting in our bodies. And with that, I'm aware of what I'm putting in my body, moving around when we're not hibernating bears, because we are not bears, right? We might want to be, right? Just in the covers, being aware of like, okay, a few days a week, 5 days a week, I'm walking, even if it's year round in your home, right? Or I'm going outside and I'm walking around a park, or I'm going to go for a bike ride, even if it's like 20 degrees, doing something. It doesn't have to be outside, right? I've been going up on YouTube, get some videos, or just simply walking up and down the stairs a few times at work, or when you're going to the store, keeping that in mind, because that goes hand in hand, just like our diet, with how we can feel. If we're sedentary most of the day, and especially during this chunk of the year, it can reinforce us that funk fest will kind of just accelerate a little bit. We don't want it to accelerate. And you could put it on your phone as a reminder. You can have little Post-it notes, go outside. Aaron, I don't want to frolic outside when it's 32 degrees. And I hear you, but even if it's twice a day for 10 minutes, breathing that fresh air makes a big difference. And it's also looking at the fact that sometimes medicine might need to come into play, and saying, well, I've been feeling this way for a while. It's connecting with your doctor. And also looking at the fact of like counseling can really do wonderful things. And I've known people over the years that like specifically this time of year, I'm going to be visiting, I'm kicking up my counseling sessions, or I kind of just get them in this time of year because it kind of validates how I'm feeling and that I'm going to get through this, which is a great thing to feel. And it goes hand in hand with our next focus, which is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I'm going to say that very loudly. We can beat ourselves up. We can kind of toss negatives or self-doubt our way, just kind of like boom, boom, this way, that way. When we're feeling funky, it's particularly easy to be hard on ourselves and say, of course you're not in a good spot. Of course, you're feeling funky. You stink, insert word, whatever the heck it is. We can be really hard on ourselves. We could be really hard on ourselves. And the truth is, kindness. Sometimes it's easier for us to be kind to other people before ourselves. We could be tough on ourselves. We have this ebb and flow in life where life is never going to be perfect. We are human. We make mistakes. We have struggles. And it's like, of course we do. We could say that, but do you believe it? Remind yourself. I know for a fact this time of year, right, as we go the next few months, it's being aware, hey, I really struggle. I'm going to put in my phone 3 days a week that I am taking extra steps outside. I'm going to go for a bike ride. We're having a bonfire in the backyard. I'm going to, go sit out on my porch and just breathe in some fresh air. Knowing when we struggle, what resources we could tap into. And that We're not weird. We're not weak. And I do think sometimes we could throw words are that way without even realizing kind of subconsciously. That's not a weakness. Our mental health is so important. We're living in some crazy, stressful, exceptionally overwhelming times. And then compound that, with our own, struggles when it comes to, these next few months. It can be really hard. We need to allow ourselves to fight our own battle. And I am awesome. I am struggling, and that's okay. And I've had people say, well, man, and I struggle this time of year. Seasonal affective disorder seems so strange. Like I'm so weird, or I shouldn't have to ask for help. Well, whoever said that? You did. Let's not say that to ourselves. Help, HELP, can be a beautiful thing. May it be a beautiful 4-letter word. Allow yourself, when resources are needed, to tap into them. Connecting with an old friend, checking in with a counselor, looking through that list of like, how's my vitamin D levels? How active am I? What am I eating? How much sunlight am I getting? Boom, 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 boom. Looking at all these things and implementing it. And days that you're like, man, I'm not feeling so awesome. I'm really struggling with this. Knowing that it's a beautiful thing to tap into your tribe, that wingman that you have, hopefully that you have, and if you don't, that's something you could work on, of, I could use some encouragement, or I'm really struggling with this. Hey, would you go walk with me once a week? Hey, do you want to hop on and just chat on the phone for a little bit once a week? What is it that would kind of strengthen your wellness journey? And pursue it, because you are worth it. You are worth it. You are worth it. All of these things that we're looking at when it comes to the aspect of ourselves, and this time of year, suffering and being challenged with, when we have less sunlight, the clock has changed, things are funky. It's learning to know yourself, what makes you tick, what are your triggers. It's learning about, okay, I'm worth having a game plan, and what does that look like? Different things I can put into place to lighten my load, to make me feel less overwhelmed, and through that, being kinder to myself, because that's what it's about, my friend. And as we go forward, it's knowing the more we learn, the stronger we are, and our journey becomes a little more smooth. And if you're looking at continuing that journey, that growth, I'd love you to check out this video. I'd love for you to subscribe, if you haven't already, to the Goodness Chick YouTube channel. Give this a thumbs up and pass it along, my friends. Wishing you a tremendous amount of peace, love, and goodness.